Hey, ho. That just came to me.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Julia.
And together we are functionally literate. We read. We read so good, we finished this book.
We sure did. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can. I'm glad we're here.
I am too.
I really enjoyed this book.
It's so good.
So yeah, to recap the events of this book, generational trauma.
That's number one for me.
The world is still ending, but there's hope. We might be able to catch the moon.
Yeah.
We didn't do that in this book.
No.
We didn't do that yet.
Maybe in the next one.
Maybe in the next one.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next one.
Otherwise.
No, right now, there's gonna be a fight about to happen.
Yeah.
Interlude. Hoa pisses off the earth.
So, this is like not even a page.
It's quick.
It's 2 paragraphs and then a sentence.
Yep.
Basically, Hoa's like, hey, Earth, truce. And Earth's like, no. Get out of here or I'll kill you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even talk. He just like...
He's like, I got out of there real quick.
He just conveys angry vibes to
Like,
Hoa.
We're not going to be friends. Looks like we can't talk this out.
Yeah. So, that's the interlude. Chapter 19. You get ready to rumble. How you harnessed the boil bugs and the Obelisk gate to slay your enemies. We're above ground. We're gonna go talk to some fucking dickheads.
Talking about talking things out.
Yeah.
Didn't work so well with Hoa and the Angry Earth.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll go over well.
Yeah.
With these people that clearly want us dead.
It's so interesting how it talks about this because, like, the moment this spokeswoman, like, she sees us, she's like, Castrima, and then she realizes that we're a Raga because of the spinal floating behind us, which is like a mini obelisk.
Yeah.
It's like a mini obelisk long knife fucking thing.
Right.
And it's just, and so now we're attuned to it, and so it's floating behind our fucking head, and we can't get it to not. We don't know how to work the thing. We wished we could ask Alabaster about it. We remember, oh shit, Alabaster's dead. This fucking sucks. And the feelings inside are different than when other people died, because this, rather than being like a wound that we can't look at, instead it's like we're just less now.
Right.
Which I totally get that. Like, when I lost my grandma, it was like that. I was like, I'm just less now. Like, I could deal with her being dead. Like, it wasn't like I would go into like unimaginable pain and tears when I thought about her. It was just like,
it's the deaths are different.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like when, someone has cancer and you're preparing for them to die. It's not as much as a shock or surprise like it was with Uche.
Yes, that's accurate, because with my grandma, it was a very slow decline.
Right.
I remember having this, like, at the time, I felt like it was such a horrible thing to feel, but expressing it made me feel better. I was like, because I would visit her every weekend, right? And I'd be like, God, I just wish she would die. And like, not in like some horrible, awful way. It's just like, man, she is so old.
And she's suffering and in pain.
She's just clinging on.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know why. But like, she just kept clinging on to life. And then one day she was just like, I have a headache. And the doctor went to go get, not the doctor, the nurse went to go get her some pills for her headache. She came back. She was dead. And I remember when I found out, I cried the day I found out, but like, it was long and dragged out.
Yeah.
Like, there at the end, that dragged out for like a year.
Yeah. That's a long time for someone to be in pain.
Yeah, and that's kind of the similar situation here. Like, Asun was dealing with Alabaster for, 7 months, 8 months?
Mm-hmm.
Like, somewhere close to, like, a year. And
she's lost him before.
And she's lost him before, which they talk about here,
Yeah.
right? Like, the man you hated, then loved, then lost, then found again, and watched, like, slowly die.
Yeah.
So... It is different. It does hit different, that kind of death.
Yeah. It's so sad, but it's not as sad and I hate to be like, that's not as this stuff, you know, but
no, sure, whatever.
But it is like almost like she can accept this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She can't accept
any of her kids.
Right.
Which understandable.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
man.
But then this lady that she talks to, what's her fucking name? Does it even matter?
Doesn't matter.
She's dead this chapter anyways.
Yeah.
This woman, like, as soon as she trigs to the fact that we're Raga, like, her attitude, like, completely, like, it's a non-reaction. It's like, okay, you're subhuman.
Right.
You know, like...
You...
Like, it's not even hate. It's just, like, you have to die.
Right.
And that's all it is. And then, like, you know, this conversation's, it's like, you can have us, but all of us, or none of us.
Right.
Right? And then, you know, she's like, well, that ain't happening. And then it's like, well, why did you even say, yeah, you could take some of us, but not the Ragas? And she's straight up like, because we wanted infighting. We wanted you all to, like, kill each other.
So that we didn't have to.
So we could clean up the rest, yeah. And so then a fucking guardian stabs her with a long knife.
Spooky.
And we get to find out what that is like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when a guardian uses its powers to shut down your orogeny, except way more fucking painful.
Yeah.
It's like electricity in your cecipine.
You have that plus, you know, you got stabbed with a knife.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like you probably can't even pay attention to that pain because of all the other pain is so fucking bad.
Yeah. And so then Hoa, like, brings
her down to the earth.
And so the way it described it, I think I have a better sense of what's happening now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what the power specifically is, what the mechanics of it is, but it's like phasing. It's like they aren't always present.
Right.
Like, physically. And that's how they can do what they do. They, like, become weightless when they shift into the earth, and then they can move through it like
it's
water.
It's interesting because they're so heavy.
Yeah.
That
when they are present.
Right.
Like,
and then they're nothing.
Like, they're described as, like, little mountains.
Yeah. That's weird. It's so weird. Everything goes black. You don't understand what happened at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you appear with Lorna. Lorna patches you up.
He's like, didn't go so well.
Yeah. He's like, well,
interesting.
I had to try. And then we go to find Ika, and you know, they're planning, like, how to do this shit. And Yika's like, all right, I know what to do.
We got to do a network.
We've got to...
But she doesn't call it that.
No. She's
a mesh.
Yeah, so Tonki's like, hold on, before we get too far. There was this whole thing with Tonki where, like, she's dressed in, like, basically for combat, like, or for, like, you know, for war. Like, she's got, like, glass knives on her hips, and she's like wearing, like, these well, she's wearing pants for one thing,
right?
And, like, I don't know, what was it, like some kind of fashionable top or something? I don't even know.
That I don't remember.
It wasn't a fashionable top, but, like, she was dressed very differently, and Asun,
because she's in love.
Asun was just like, oh, this is hot.
Yeah.
It was like the impression I got from it. Just like, oh wow, she looks great like this.
Yeah.
And so she's like talking about step 3 of her plan, and it's like, but we got to do all of this at once. And so the plan basically is to, like, use orogeny to get the boil bugs to kill all their enemies.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy good idea.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I hate those fuckers, but that's a good idea.
Well, we kind of hate the people that want to kill us too.
Yeah. So it works.
It works out. And so the other parts of the plan are use Erogeny to shut off all the exits, which they're already getting into.
Yeah.
Like they're fucking up the vents. The enemies are like they want to get at us, and or they want us to like suffocate.
Right.
You know, one or the other.
And what's also interesting is like Asun realizes Ika's like, I can do this. It's fine. I can do this. But Asun is like,
You mean Ika?
Ika, yeah.
Ika's like, I know what to do this.
Yes.
Like, so they go to a specific spot because it's...
But Asun's like, how do you know how to do this? Because you are not as powerful as me. And what I thought was so interesting was her being like, the running metaphor, or what was it? The stamina?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay, this I literally found. Maybe this is a fulcrum thing. When you run with another Raga, keep everybody at the same pace. Train yourself to the capabilities of the least, but use the endurance of the greatest. And this was her talking about how she is going to use what we know as a network, because Alabaster's called it
parallel
such.
Scaling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she didn't have the word for it, but she knew how to do it.
Right.
Yeah. And so
And we don't know how to do it, but we have the word.
right. And like and there's this whole conversation here about like, man, when we really have time, we really do need to come up with a language for how to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, especially if we make it all out alive.
Like and I think that in itself, like as a concept, I love that this book gets into that kind of thing, because you remember how much I fucking geeked out when we got the word magic.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Words matter. The way you think about this shit matters.
Yeah, and even when we were talking about the cornerstone,
the core stone.
Core stone.
Having a word for the fucking thing. Nassun was like,
it reveals.
That's what it's called.
Right.
Like when you have it, names are such a powerful fucking thing. Especially like in mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like it came up in, what episode was it? Egyptian mythology. There was this whole story that Zach talked about related to like, there was this goddess of magic, Isis.
Mm-hmm.
And shoot, what was the other god? I don't know. But she poisoned a god and acted like she didn't, and then she was like, if you tell me your true name, I can heal you.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. But like this, it's just, that's like kind of a thing that's always been in like a part of fantasy.
Sure.
Like the power of names.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's
so funny because, and I think we've talked about this before too. Mm-hmm. I am working very, very slowly on my own like fantasy.
Yeah.
Mystery sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what I struggle with the most is coming up with names for things. Mm-hmm. Like, even, like, thinking of my magic system and how it works and, like, building that. Mm-hmm. I, like, understand the inner workings of things, but I really, really struggle with figuring out how do I name this.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that, for sure.
But it is important because it brings reference to people. And...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
What were we discussing?
I don't know. I just got spooked because I heard a bunch of
Yeah, me too. Hey, we heard weird creaking in the studio and got spooked.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, and like also full disclosure, there's a tornado watch going on right now, so I'm like,
oh yeah.
Did we just get hit? No.
So it's kind of like never-ending story vibes right now. We're talking about a book in the midst of a tornado.
Yeah, really quite interesting.
Did we make the right choice?
We'll be okay.
The tornado will come either way.
Anyway, we were discussing,
so there was a 3-pronged plan. Close off all the exits.
Yes.
Use the boil bugs to kill everything, but also make a tunnel to get the hell out of here.
Right.
And so Yika's like, I don't know how to explain it. I just know how to do it. And then the quote that you said.
Mhm.
And then we realized, fuck, this is the thing. We need to learn how to do this. You can show us how. And so then we do it, right? And like,
And she does show us how.
yeah,
And then we're like, hold up.
this is what I need to do to use the Obelisk Gate.
Let me do it.
I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
So she takes control. She taps into the Onyx. And she can't, it's too much for her.
Right.
She finds a way to maintain equilibrium, but it's still too much for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she accesses the gate. Not fully. She accesses, what does it say? Like 100 obelisks? It's too much. It's too much is what it is. And she uses the obelisk gate to kill all of her enemies. Mostly. She kills the grand majority of them that weren't already killed off by the boil bugs. Because before she even taps into the obelisk gate, they used the boil bugs to used controlled, like a controlled ring of cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like it reminded me of Fortnite or PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, right?
Yeah.
PUBG. It was like just this ring making the boil bugs all go in closer.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how like that guy from the beginning, he got really unlucky because he wasn't killed outright.
Right.
There weren't enough boil bugs. But the boil bugs now are killing people like fucking instantly. They're getting boiled instantly because they're being swarmed.
Right. Oh my God. I hate it. But it's genius.
Yeah. And
there's also an interesting choice that again goes back to that relationship that we talk about between these two women.
Yeah.
Where
between Ika and Nassun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they both like have this understanding where so we have like the strong backs that are like fighting these people, and they realize at one point we need to bring down the earth in the tunnel to separate, to keep the enemies from approaching us further. But to do that, we have to sacrifice some of the strong backs. And
also, we have to accept that not every enemy will be killed immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing is they both have that shared understanding, and
yeah,
they do it. They do what needs to be done.
They do what needs to be done. Yeah. Well, so Asun taps into the obelisk gate, and she uses it she sees those motes on the egg, and she kills them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then she looks for the gray one. Can't find him.
Yeah.
And so how does this shit end? Remind me.
Okay, so she brings the tunnels down, blah, blah, blah. Hold on. The Stone Eaters arrive.
Yeah.
They're coming in, and then we're just like thrown out of this network, basically.
Yeah.
And Hoa is like, I got you, girl.
Yeah.
As he does. And then he brings you upstairs.
Yeah, that's
topside, I guess.
Then that's how we tap into the obelisk
yeah,
gate. Yeah. You fall into the obelisk gate.
Into the onyx.
Into the onyx specifically, yeah.
And then it's all too much, and we go down. Oh, you know how this ends.
Yeah. So
we ice what's it called?
Okay, so I want to talk about how this is implied,
right?
And versus like what we actually know. So the implication is that Alabaster is now an alabaster-colored Stone Eater. That is the implication.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know that for a fact, but it seems heavily implied because Antimony is now with a Stone Eater who's new, who looks at Asun and kind of is like, do I know you? I don't really know.
This is
like,
I have a good quote here.
Go ahead.
How ironic. This is the first time you've ever seen a Stone Eater made of alabaster.
Yeah. And so
then you are gone.
And then so the implication is that's totally fucking alabaster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So wait, you don't think that he knows that that's
No, I think that's totally Alabaster.
But you don't think that Alabaster knows that that's Asun? Or, like, remembers
so
Asun?
there's only its eyes are black, and though they watch you with only faint recognition, with a puzzled flicker of something that might be, or should not be, memory, something about those eyes is familiar. So I think, like...
I think that's her recognizing him, not him recognizing her.
I think that's her recognizing him and, like, seeing a lot into that expression a Stone Eater's making.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing.
This is the look, and you guys don't get to see it, but this is how I picture every Stone Eater.
Describe this.
They're just, like, cross-eyed, and they're like...
It's
just like open mouth.
Oh, it's like that cat, just like, huh?
Yeah, basically. And I'm just like, that is every Stone Eater. Imagine you open your eyes, you just like did some crazy shit, and all these faces are just like,
huh?
I'd be like, I'm going back to bed. Put me out.
Yeah. And then there's a little end blurb here. What if it isn't dead?
What if Alabaster isn't dead? Sorry.
So that's a letter from Rito Innovator DeBars to 7th University, sent via courier from Alia, Quarton, and Com after the raising of the Garnet Obelisk, received 3 months after word of Alia's destruction, spread via telegraph. Unknown reference.
So Alabaster's alive as a Stone Eater.
That is, well...
That's what I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is, too. That's got nothing to do with the end blurb, though, I don't think. What if it isn't dead is in reference to Hoa, the supposedly dead Stone Eater that was in that damaged obelisk in Alia.
Huh?
That's what the reference is. What if it isn't dead? It's talking about Hoa.
It's talking about Hoa, but it's talking about all of them.
What do you mean?
I think it's talking about Hoa, but it's also talking about Alabaster.
In this moment, yeah.
Yeah.
But like
But OG, you say it's Hoa.
Yeah. Well, like that original message that like the telegraph message.
Yes.
But yeah.
But in this case, it's Alabaster.
It's Alabaster. What if it isn't dead? What if Alabaster
He's
isn't
alive.
Dead? Yeah. Which is a really great tease for ending a book.
Yeah. Great job.
Because she did that thing again where like the second to last chapter is the big fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Interlude. How we found a new home.
So, this interlude, it's kind of the longest interlude we've had. This is, in a way, like the first epilogue of the book, I think.
Yeah. Only I can fucking understand it.
Okay, go on.
I mean, if we're talking about the first, or the very first part of the first book that I couldn't understand.
Oh, you mean...
Is that what you were referencing?
No, I was talking about interludes.
Okay, never mind.
What do you think I meant?
I thought you meant the
prologue.
The prologue.
What about the prologue?
I don't know. I just thought that that's what you were referencing.
The prologue makes sense to you now, though.
Yeah, it makes sense to me now, but it didn't then.
No, you were totally fucking clueless.
I was like, I don't know. I don't care. Move on.
When we got to like the first chapter, you're like, I can follow this.
Yeah, I was excited. I wasn't reading poetry.
But we're not talking about chapter 1 of the 5th season. We're talking about the final interlude of the Obelisk game.
Yeah.
So it's all from Hoa's point of view. He takes Asun back to Lerna's place.
And he's so obsessed with us.
So we really get a sense of how in love he is with Asun in this moment.
And I love some of these comments. Ugh.
Like,
fools. That's what you get for pissing off my Raga.
Yeah. Or what do you suppose this stuff means? So like there's this moment like where he's like, I do not begrudge you these connections. You need them.
Look at this, Ryan.
I
highlighted that exact sentence. I'm excited because I highlighted what he said.
Well, what do you suppose that means? Or it's like it says it twice. It says it first, and then it says it again in parentheses.
I do not begrudge you these connections. You need them. Hoa is trying to convince himself not to be jealous.
I'm glad you said that. That's
totally
also how I received
that.
Absolutely.
He's like, it's fine. It's fine. I don't care at all. I'm not in love with you.
I'm totally in love with you.
Yeah. That is so interesting too, because like you think like the world's fucking ending And this, like, because to me, it's beyond, like, at first I thought that the love that Hoa had for her was, like, very platonic. And I think that that's true to an extent. Like, I kind of think there's more to this than just, like, a platonic love. Especially with him trying to convince himself that he's not jealous that she has this love.
Well,
unless we can't understand the love that he has.
I mean, I think there's a lot of complicated feelings there, right?
Yeah.
Like, he made himself, like, as close to human as he could
Yeah.
for a bit there,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, in this interlude, it also talks about how he's, like, adjusting to being being a stone eater again.
Right.
You know, like, he was human for a while,
Mhm.
and there was, like, things about being human that, like, made life fresh,
Right.
you know? And, like, now he's a stone eater again, but, like, it still had an effect. It's still affecting him now that he's, like, himself again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, there's this whole fucking interaction with Lerna. There's another thing here that I think is interesting. A Stone Eater's sense of time, right?
Yes.
So Hoa still views himself as human.
Right.
But what Alabaster said originally about Stone Eaters still rings true here. Because, like, he has no sense of time.
Yeah.
He's like,
could
hours...
be a second, could be an hour.
Hours or minutes or years later, Lerna comes back. I think, like...
It doesn't matter. I don't know.
I think not very long because, like, you know, he's still like.
Then I wait, and hours or days later, when Lerna returns to his apartment.
Yeah.
Hours or days, not sure.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like he has no concept of time.
A few weeks. Nostalgia in flesh, and I forget myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting. Like, I don't know. I love this, and I just love this interlude. I don't know. I'm like so fascinated by it. I also like that at this point we're getting to Hoa being like, you are gonna have to make a decision.
Yeah. And he does not spell anything out.
Mm-mm.
Like he waits for Lerna to figure it out. Lerna's like, he's like, Lerna's smart, so he figures it out eventually.
Yeah.
Lerna realizes, okay, all of our enemies are dead because she didn't just use the Obelisk Gate to get rid of the people that were right here. She used it to get rid of all of her enemies. that these people came from.
It's fucking crazy.
So that other place, what's it fucking called?
It starts with an R. Hold on.
It's called Renanis. Renanis is empty now.
Yeah.
Because Nassun used the Obelisk Gate to
ice it.
To ice it.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what they have to do. They have to go to there because now Castrima is damaged.
Yeah, they can't stay there.
There was an interesting thing in the last chapter, by the way, that we glossed over, which was that there was something inside the crystals that are no longer lit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so it's not that they're no longer lit, it's that they're flickering in and out. Like, when they flicker out, there's something in the crystals, and then they come back on again.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by the Greg Bush for House District 50 campaign. Greg Bush is a registered nurse, nurse's advocate, proud union member, husband, and father who has called Columbia home for 18 years as of this May. I know him from church, and I co-starred with his wife in a Maplewood Barn production last year, The Crucible. She played Tituba. I played Reverend Hale. And now Greg, is running for House District 50, which is in Southern Columbia. He worked his way up the ranks at MU Healthcare and put himself through school to become a registered nurse after starting as a janitor in 2006. He's running as an advocate for patients and nurses since he's been on the front lines of watching the outcome of extremist politicians in Jeff City. He has 3 children, 1 a graduate, with 2 children still in Columbia Public Schools. he will be a fierce advocate for public education in Colombia. As a member of a working family, he already has the endorsement of 2 of the largest unions in Missouri since he's a union member and has been for nearly a decade. Check him out at Greg Bush for House District 50 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider voting for him in November. And if you can't vote for him because you don't live in House District 50, consider donating to his campaign. I have an Act Blue link that will be included in the episode description. Back to the show.
Yeah.
So, I'm going back to an old theory, old hypothesis rather, that I dismissed, and then I'm bringing back again.
Was it my hypothesis or your hypothesis?
My hypothesis.
Okay.
I dismissed my own hypothesis.
Okay.
Earlier, I thought that obelisks were stone eaters.
Yeah.
Now, I think that again because I think that there are fucking stone eaters inside these crystals that can become obelisks.
That's crazy.
So I think that's what happened to Hoa. He was made into an obelisk. He pissed off the wrong Raga that made him into an obelisk.
Wow. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I just love this. I love it.
So yeah, Lerna realizes
What's going on? He's like, we got to get out of here.
Mhm.
We can go where she killed everybody.
Yeah.
There's food, there's houses, there's this, there's that.
Yeah. But now also there's another part of this that we totally glossed over, which is Asun is now turning into stone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that goes to the choice, right?
Right. The choice that
she has to make.
That he's emphasizing, like she has to choose death or, well, what he says is, death is a choice. I will make certain of that for you, but not for you, right? Like, I will not make the choice for you. Mm-hmm. You have to make a choice about it, though. Yeah.
And the choice is, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Become a stone eater.
Yeah, no, we talked about this earlier. So
right.
When we did our first recording of the day, when we were doing chapters 13 through 15, remember 6 weeks ago? Anyways, so we were talking about, I cut that bit because you asked me, what do you think Hoa's goal is? And I think Hoa's goal really at the end of the day is to make Asun into a stone eater.
So that they can fall in love and have little stone eater babies.
Well, I think I think that's because, like, that's what Antimony did. Yeah. I think if
that's part of it, honestly.
If that new stone eater is Alabaster, I think this is why stone eaters get attached to certain origins, right? They want to make them into stone eaters and have a couple. Like, they want to make little couples.
It's kind of cute. It's kind of fucking weird because they're gonna eat their legs eventually. Yeah. But it's kind of cute. I was obsessed with Hoa in the first book. I was like, he's so cute. And now I'm like, it's fucking weird, Hoa. You went weird about this, but like, it's fine.
Like, because Lerna's judging him for wanting to eat her, and he's like, well, I wouldn't do it without her permission.
Jesus, who do you think I am?
Like, I have some sense of decorum.
He says, why do you stay with her? Are you just hungry? I love her. Of course. Yeah. Just so good.
And Lerna, I think Lerna's dealing with some stone eater prejudice here.
Yeah, he sure is.
I mean, they fucking call them stone eaters. Yeah. Like, there's got to be a better name than stone eaters, man.
Poor
like,
guy. What a good interlude. Yeah. Best one yet.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Chapter 20. Nassun, faceted. How your daughter came to kill your husband.
This is the last one, the last chapter.
I think it's interesting that this book only has 20 chapters when the last one had 23.
Why? Why is that interesting?
I don't know. I always find it interesting when, like, the sequel books have less, you know?
This is a bridge. This book's a bridge, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, so I'm going to be honest. I wasn't super impressed with this ending. Like, this feels to me like how it goes with a lot of trilogies, right?
I
Like,
know what you're gonna say.
what am I gonna say?
It's a filler book, or it's like it's a bridge book, kind of what I said.
Yeah,
like it's not a ton happened here.
Yeah, like that's not true. It's
a
not
lot
that.
did.
It's not
happen.
that. It's not that not a ton of happened here. It's just that like I feel like when you have the second installment in a trilogy, often what happens is at the end of the second book, like the ending is not as impactful as like the first one.
Sure.
You know, it just won't be because like it's like, hey, we're moving on to this next book. You know, like we're moving on to this next movie. And then the trilogy always ends in like the best fucking way possible.
I hear you.
Like it's just like the second installment always has like a lackluster fucking ending.
I hear you. I disagree with you.
You don't think this is a lackluster ending?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
That's fine.
The last sentence I think of this book,
I did like that, but I don't know. It just didn't feel as impactful as like
the first time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, so we're jumping around a bit.
Yeah.
The way it ends is, I will help you catch the moon.
Yeah.
In the first book, it was like, have you ever heard of the moon?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Like,
okay. I hear you. Okay.
It's, what do you mean? Versus, oh, okay, cool. You're describing the third book. Like, this is what's going to happen.
Well, and I think for me, like, there is something like the second book in a trilogy so often does fall into like, I think it often is like setting things up. Like, I feel like the first book so often ties all the loose ends of that first book, but somehow is able to like carry to that second one.
Right.
What I loved about this book was the fact that, yes, okay. Well, what I loved about this book is I felt like the first book didn't really tie up any loose ends for me. Yeah. I got a lot of my fulfillment of like, I had so many questions that I felt like were answered in this book.
I agree with you because the fifth season, it emotionally was concise and complete, even though it had a lot of unanswered questions.
Right.
This book answered a lot of questions that were left hanging in the first book, right? Like, we have a better understanding of who Guardians are. We have a bit of like what they are, what they can do. We have a better understanding of like what the fuck is up with orogeny, because it's like, it's kind of like magic, but like it's different.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, magic's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is all magic. These aren't like superpowers.
We have our words. We get some lore.
We get a lot of lore. We get a better understanding of like what the Guardians are fucking doing, because that was a big question we had in the first book.
Yeah,
which
we were
is
like,
who's in charge of the Guardians?
Yeah.
And the answer is the Guardians. The Guardians are in charge of the Guardians, and they just let the leaders fucking think that they're in charge.
Right.
Which, like, feels so fucking on the nose when you, like, think about our world. It's like, who the fuck's really in charge here? Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like all the big corporations are in charge.
Absolutely.
You know, the corporations that have more power.
It's the people who have
than
money.
Governments. Yeah. It's the people who have money. And, like, the book talks a bit about that, too. Just, like, well, the series in general is, like, like, if you were rich before, you still have, like, class clout now. Which is, like, Jesus
whatever.
Christ. But, we need to talk about this chapter. Which is Nassun wakes up, and I think it's because she can kind of assess what's going on with her mom, who, by the way, we forgot to mention in the last chapter, like, knows Nassun is alive.
And she's been messing with some obelisks.
Because, like, that's how she knows, because she can, like, assess. Well, she doesn't even think of it as assessing. She could just, through magic, tell, like,
she's been all over
this. Traces of her daughter's essence are all over this one obelisk that didn't just join with the network.
And she's talking with Steel at this moment before Daddy comes.
No, I thought it was after.
No, it's
Or
both.
is it both?
It's both. Before and after.
Okay.
Because before it's when, like, Steel is like, God damn it, your mom used the Obelisk Gate for what? To kill her enemies? Boring. Like,
yeah. And I mean, like, she was gonna die though? Like,
I think she...
well, hold on. She didn't need to tap into the Obelisk Gate in that moment.
But she was like, might as well give it a shot.
Yeah.
And she's understanding, Asun's understanding what, like, Alabaster meant in that moment of the network, then the gate. And so she's like, might as well give it all a shot. And Steel just thinks that this is a stupid reason to use these powers.
I mean, it was kind of like practice.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
Well, the problem being the practice is going to kill her.
Yeah, right.
Like, she's going to turn to stone. Like,
and she's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And Alabaster's probably like, oh, God, why'd you do it for that?
Like, I'm predicting that the third book is probably going to be, like, her agonizing over the choice and then making the choice at the end.
And you don't think she's going to choose to be a Stone Eater? You think she's going to die?
I think that she might wind up a Stone Eater, but, like, I think she's going to view that as a kind of death.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
That's totally fair.
Like, maybe she will let herself die because Evil Earth won't be so evil. Because you remember what Alabaster said. He's like, when I die, give my body to Antimony. Don't give me to the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
They don't want anything to do with that Evil Earth.
Mm-mm.
And I highlighted a part that I love after she's, talking with Steel.
Yeah.
And it's the way of the world isn't strong, devouring the weak, but the weak deceiving and poisoning and whispering in the ears of the strong until they too become weak.
Yeah. That was a good line. It was it felt very on the nose.
Yes.
It felt like, are we talking about fascists here?
Yeah, and we could very well could be. She just has, it's crazy to me to think that somebody can I don't want to use the word poetically, but I feel like that's the best way to put it.
No, she does prose very well.
I mean,
I mean, then that's kind of the point of prose, is to kind of make it flow like that, and it does.
It's crazy, but she's talking with Steel, and then she realizes, ruh-roh, Daddy's here with sweetening.
He's like, sweetening.
He still calls her sweetening. That pisses me off.
I mean,
because he's literally, there's a line where he's here to stalk and kill his daughter.
Yeah, that's yeah. He's completely lost it.
And I do like that Nassun's like, BTW Dad, Mommy's alive.
Yeah.
Just so you know, before I kill you,
Mommy's alive.
Yeah.
Mama's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about like the closure maybe that Nassun has gotten from icing his house. Well, she also gets some closure here about
there was a moment that I recall where she's like, just because she doesn't love him anymore doesn't mean like that the love needs to be meaningless. Like,
oh my God, I know.
Nothing, but like he's still coming at her and trying to kill her, and it's like, God damn it.
How do you write? This is just insane. Like, this is just insane. And like even this too, where she says, suddenly it doesn't matter. I just have to read it because it's so fucking good.
Read it.
Suddenly it doesn't matter. Nassun sighs and rubs her face with her hands, as weary as Father Earth must be after many eternities of hate. Hate is tiring. Nihilism is easier, though she does not know the word and will not for a few years. And it's what she's feeling, regardless, an overwhelming sense of meaninglessness of it all. This is a child that has gone through so much and is about to kill her dad.
Yeah.
And like, full disclosure, we were re-recording this.
Yeah, we were.
So
the recorder died, and so we had to like.
So I'm gonna say some things I said before.
Yeah.
But like, this is gonna fuck her up forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Because even though she, in the last chapter, realized that she can't love this man anymore.
And she tried.
She tried.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, fine. I love Shafa so much that I want to heal him, but healing him will kill him. I have to love him less.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go love someone else. So as a way to distance herself from Shafa a little bit, she went to go to Jija. Time has passed since she's been with Jija. Jija's happy to see her like older, but that time passing has helped weaken that bond enough for her to realize like this is pointless.
Yeah.
Like I love who I am. And you want me to be something I'm not. Ugh. And like you can't love me while I am me. You don't really love me.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't want to kill him, but he comes at her, and so she taps into that obelisk, starts turning him into stone. It's not perfect though. Mm-hmm. Like he starts falling over because he's turning into stone and stabs her. Mm-hmm. Like what was it in the shoulder blade?
Right.
Yeah.
He was aiming for her heart, but
he missed, and then so the jolting of that like speeds up the process of turning him into stone.
There are moments too that NK puts in that just is to like hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
like she says like this finishes Jija in an instant, solidifying him completely into a statue with a fizz of smoky quartz hair and a round red ochre face and clothes of deep blue because he wore dark clothing in order to stalk his daughter.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
But anyway, she kills him.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about in the last chapter, right? Like this is really the only thing he could ever do. It was either this or accept what he had done, which was something he was just not capable of doing. He was not capable of feeling that remorse. Mm-hmm. Instead, he had to just hate.
Right. Crazy. And once he's dead, we kind of get to this point where
Steel is talking to
Nassun about
we lost it. So
no, it's so good though. I mean, okay, let's just say let's talk about this.
Okay.
Because we were trying to redo something that happened organically, which is that reading this, thought Steele was sincere.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was being sincere when he was like, we want you to catch the moon. And Ryan's like, no, Julia. He doesn't want her to catch the moon. He wants her to be squashed to the moon.
Yeah, because so he says here, she's like, tell me like how not to kill everything I love. Or no.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, you'll kill everything you love eventually. And she's like, she doesn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And he's like, there's a way. Shall I tell you that way? She's like, yes. He's like, the moon's coming back. It was lost so long ago, flung away like a ball on a paddle string, but the string has drawn it back, left to itself. It will pass by and fly off again. It's done that before, several times now. But with the gate, you can nudge it just a little, adjust its and then he chuckles because he was going to say trajectory, but she doesn't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah.
The path that the moon naturally follows. Instead of letting it pass again, lost and wandering, bring it home. Father Earth's been missing it. Bring it straight here and let them have a reunion. It will be a terrible thing. It will end the seasons. It will end every season. And yet, what you're feeling right now, you need never feel again. No one will ever suffer again.
And here's what I missed. The ending of every season.
Yeah.
Fall, winter, spring, summer.
All them.
They're all gonna end because it's gonna be squashed.
Yeah, it'll be
big boom.
A big boom. Big boom. Which I think is so fascinating. Like,
so mad that I like it. Like, I am Nassun in this moment. I'm like, yeah.
There's something here about cycles, right? Uh-huh. Because like that's, scientifically what a lot of scientists believe based on just, like their research is that that's how the moon came to be in the first place. Like something big, something massive collided with the earth.
Yeah.
And then like all of this shit got kicked up and like formed into the moon. Like the moon is not just like a separate thing. A big part of the moon is some of the earth. Just like some of the earth is whatever came from this original thing that hit the earth. And so, like, the Steele wants to do that, wants to recreate that, wants to end everything. Whereas Antimony...
Except himself, probably, because I bet he lives. He would live from that. Maybe.
I mean, maybe he's like,
fuck it all.
Fuck it all. Like, big A apocalypse. Get rid of all of it. Get rid of it.
He's a bad boy.
And yeah, so this book, like, kind of mirrors the ending of the first book. The end of the first book, like you said, it was like, have you ever heard of a moon? And then this book is like, I'll help you catch the moon. But, like, catch it. Not, like, put it back in its orbit. Catch it. Like, hey, hit me.
I have a terrible visual in my head, and I just have to say I have a terrible visual.
Let's hear it.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's a...
All right, I'll cut it if it's too
somebody, like, standing there with their arms, they're, like, wide spread open, and they're just, like, smiling, like, yeah.
The moon.
Big hug. And then squish.
Squish.
I hate that.
You hate that?
I'm just hoping we get a mother-daughter reunion in this next book.
I mean, we've got to.
I mean, but we got to get them on the same page is the most important part.
I hope. I mean,
Nassun, she holds a little bit of a grudge, can't blame her, but
yeah.
Man, what a ride.
So that's the end of this book.
That's the end of this book. And I liked it better than the first.
You liked it better than the
I
first?
sure did.
What about this one did you enjoy more?
I loved Nassun. I loved I think the generational trauma aspect of it. I obviously don't love generational trauma, but the discussion around
that theme throughout
the parallels,
book. Like, because that wasn't prominent in the first book.
It wasn't. Yeah, I think it was in some ways, but definitely not as prominent here.
Because it was just because of the way the books are structured.
Right.
Like the first book, it was all about Asun.
Yeah.
It was all about like
first story.
The child becoming the young woman, becoming the mother.
It was like
and not that like, we were like supposed to necessarily be aware of that unless you're good at like looking at foreshadowing.
Right.
Like that wasn't spelled out explicitly until the end, but like it was less about generational trauma and more about like how trauma affects an individual.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
And so then this one focuses on how trauma affects everyone who comes after.
Yeah. And it's just so I thought it was just so good. I loved getting the answers. I loved the setup. I loved the emotion. I loved the relationships in this one.
Book.
We didn't have Pirate Daddy, which was a miss. But I loved everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was beautiful. I think that she's an absolute genius. And we are very lucky to read these books.
Yeah. Okay, so we're wrapping up now.
Yeah.
We gotta, like, say whatever we want to say about this book. We gotta say it now.
I know. There's so much to be said. I think that I just have so much gratitude to be on this show,
You're welcome.
Honestly, because, like, I think that this is a book that, okay, I maybe would have read it, but I wouldn't have had the chance to like break it down like this and truly understand, resonate, and sit in some of this stuff, which I think it's really, really important to do to like honor the stuff that she's written.
That was in the introduction like of this whole show.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I talked about, like this format of covering this book, like I love reading.
Yeah.
But like how often do you, when you're reading a book, like you said, just like really think about what you're reading?
Absolutely. And it was a learning curve for me too. I think like I can't even listen to those first few episodes. They are like nails on the chalkboard for me.
I understand
because
what you
I'm
mean,
really getting my footing, and I'm really
Yeah.
like having to critically think, when usually it's like full lobotomy as I go.
For
like,
for that same reason, I really enjoy those first few episodes because, like, I can
Oh,
see.
God.
Well, no, because I can see where you are now,
yeah,
right? Like,
no, I've improved.
you've gotten more comfortable.
yeah, I'm more
You're,
comfy,
like,
more confident.
You are a seasoned podcaster.
Oh,
you have done. You know
man.
how many episodes you've done, Julia?
How many?
This is episode 15.
What?
Yeah, because
Oh my
because the first book was 8
God.
episodes, and then this book was 7 episodes.
Yeah.
This is the 15th episode.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's great. It's been such a cool journey, and like, just what an amazing trilogy to like start this out with, because it's so good.
Yeah, I'm really
So-
excited to see what happens with the third book. So
Yeah.
we're clear. We don't know jack shit about the third book.
Nothing.
Okay, we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, and we're going on a little. I mean, me and you are going on a little break just
yeah.
because we're both involved with community theater.
Yeah,
And the summer's gonna be busy for me, for
the
sure.
Maplewood Barns season is going to be starting up. There's going to be auditions for Mousetrap here in
Yeah.
a couple weeks. I'm gonna try out for that. See
Me
how that goes.
too.
There's also gonna be Lady Windermere's fan.
Lady Demand Satisfaction.
Lady Demand Satisfaction.
9 to 5.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing the musical. You can't make me.
We're gonna go out for everything but the musical. We're not talking about the barn. We're talking about this.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are going to, in real life, take a little bit of a hiatus.
Yes.
But the schedule is gonna be, like, from your point of view, like,
you don't even know.
You don't even know.
It's
You don't even
perfect.
know.
Because we'll probably pick right back up
Yeah.
in the fall.
Because so this will be in like August or something when this comes out.
Crazy.
And
Okay.
now.
Well.
So
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts?
I really did appreciate the themes in this book. Like, yeah, I've said it, and I'll say it again. I was not impressed by the ending. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just wasn't as impactful.
Yeah, sure.
It just wasn't as impactful. But the book, it's not about the.
You're entitled to your wrong
it's
opinion.
not about the destination. It's about the journey. And everything in this book, like the journey that it took us on, I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, like it had a lot to say.
Yeah.
It had a lot to say. And it won a Hugo Award for it. And you know what? That doesn't mean as much as it used to, unfortunately.
No.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to that drama.
Sure have.
You sure have. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Hey, I'll put a YouTube link.
You want to
in
know
the-
who
in
this
the-
is not sponsored by? The Hugo Awards.
Yeah, this is not sponsored by the Hugo Awards. I'll put a YouTube link in the link dump for you to, if you're not aware of what's going on with the Hugo Awards, you know,
Maybe you should be.
maybe you should be. And I don't think we're going to. I don't think for the next book I'm gonna praise the fact that this is a Hugo Award winning trilogy.
I agree.
Um.
It's hard though because I don't want to take away
Oh yeah. No.
her.
I mean, but that's the problem, right? Like
Mhm.
this whole thing with the Hugo Awards, it's like called all of this shit into question.
Right.
Like, yes, this is an amazing book series, but like, what else was there that was like not considered back then?
Yeah.
You know? Well, anyways, for this book,
It's genius. It's brilliant and beautiful.
I mean, we have had a lot of good moments. Like that Core Point chapter, like, dude, that shit was nuts.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I love that. I loved our discussion about it.
Yeah.
I am still really interested to see what's going on with Shafa.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if what we're predicting is right. Like I think Hoa wants to turn Asun into a Stone Eater for sure.
Oh, he wants a Stone Eater wife.
Yeah, or like whatever the equivalent.
Yeah,
is,
sure.
You know.
Stone Eater partner.
Yeah. So yeah, the final book, which we're going to cover next year. We're gonna do it next year. It's gonna be The Stone Sky, and that's going to close out the coverage of this trilogy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I had fun with it.
I had so much fun. Thanks for having me on this.
To be continued.
To be continued.